Hey guys, lots and lots of talk going on right now in the state of Louisiana about constitutional carry, and actually, oddly enough, a transgender bill, and let's just call it what it is. There's a bill that prohibited boys from competing against girls in state schools, high schools, and whatnot in the state of Louisiana. And our beloved Democrat governor vetoed that because he thinks it's fair to let boys beat up on girls in sports. But that's not what this video is about. That just happens to be a weird little side note of constitutional carry. The reason why it's kind of weird is because had the governor allowed the transgender type bill, had he allowed that bill, which is clearly fair because you don't want boys beating up on girls in sports, there's a very good chance some of these left-leaning Republicans in the state of Louisiana probably would not have even considered a veto override of the constitutional carry bill. What I mean by that is he vetoed two bills. One that we all know a bunch of these Republicans, especially in some of these states, aren't true Second Amendment supporters. They say that they are because that's what the party tells them, or that's what they kind of assume they're supposed to do. But most of them don't know anything about guns. They're not gun guys. They don't understand the Second Amendment, like most politicians don't understand the intent of the Second Amendment. But they go along with it because it gets them cheap votes in the country, the urban areas, and whatnot. So they usually, in many cases, are okay if you squash some of these pro-gun bills out there because, again, let's face it, they're not really pro-gun anyway. So they just go, I did my part. You know, I tried to push it through. I voted for it whenever it was, you know, a bill to be voted on, and, you know, the governor vetoed it. Sorry, you know, they shun their responsibilities at that point, acting like, well, that's just the way the game is played. But a lot of them live in very conservative areas also who cannot digest the fact that our governor is going to allow boys to beat up on girls in school. There's kind of I guess a morality issue involved there in some instances, where, again, a lot of these guys probably would have been okay with the veto of the Second Amendment bill. But the governor kind of screwed himself on that. So this is kind of the way it boils down right now. Politics are clearly at play right now. There's a lot of line item veto type stuff that's going on too. Again, clear-cut politics. Just one example of that, $70 million infrastructure bill passed, but the governor took his time to go through there, and one of the line items that he vetoed out of there was a $26,000. He plucked $26,000 out of there for signage in a parish up in North Louisiana because he's mad at the representative up there for some of the things policies that he's been trying to do, and really ultra conservative stuff that he's been trying to do. So the governor, just to throw a dart at him, while he's okay with $70 million of other wasteful spending, he's nixing $26,000. That's like me complaining that my electric bill is $500 a month, so I turn off one light in a closet thinking that's going to make a difference. Ooh, I'm being fiscally responsible. So anyway, that's politics at play. The great state of Louisiana, we are known for that, and it's just business as usual. However, in terms of how the veto override system goes, first of all, I want to thank Josh Barnhill. He's an attorney friend of mine. He's also the Louisiana representative of Gun Owners of America. He's a big help to me in many cases like this. He drills down and finds some of the details that I just either don't know or can't find. So a lot of help from him on that. I may misspeak a little bit whenever I go over the rules and the terms of how veto overrides go. But this is kind of where constitutional carry in the state of Louisiana, where it rests right now. No, by the way, guys, this is the new studio being built right now, so that's why I'm in here, not really showing it off, but everything else is just in such disarray. This was a good place for me to actually film at. Okay, I want to explain a little bit how this works. The governor has 20 days from the date he receives a bill to either sign it or veto it. The constitutional carry bill was sent to the governor on June 4th of 2021, so the deadline to sign or veto that bill was June 24th. Okay, a lot of people thought that that date came and passed. Weird politics and weird how politics works. The governor doesn't have to say whether or not he vetoed the bill on June 24th. He just has to do it. He can do it in the privacy of his own office. He doesn't have to say anything. He only has to say something for several days afterwards when he announces what his actual actions were on the 24th. That means that technically on July 3rd was the deadline for him to announce what he had done on June 24th. In other words, the deadline was the 24th, but he didn't have to tell anybody on the 24th what he did. Just so happens that he did the next day. The reason why I'm bringing that up, a lot of people thought that the time came and passed, and if the time comes and passes and he did nothing, then obviously he's not vetoing the bill, so it becomes law in the state of Louisiana. A lot of people were under the impression that because they didn't hear what he had done by the 25th, that he had let that time pass and the law was going to become, or the bill was going to become law. That's not the case. That did not happen. He actually did veto it that night on the 24th. He just didn't say anything till the following day, which by the rules of the state of Louisiana Constitution, he could do that, and that's how he handled it. Now, once the legislature receives official notice of which bills the governor has vetoed, each legislator must be sent a list of bills vetoed in a form of declaration that a veto session is not necessary. And what happens is both houses, the Senate and the House, they're both given forms. Now, if you want a veto override session, you simply don't send in your opposition of that. If you don't want there to be a veto override session, then you send in your bill, your form rather. So you have half of the House or half of the Senate, the majority of either one of them can send in their forms and negate any kind of a veto override session. So if no one sends anything in, or more than half of the House and the Senate both don't send their stuff in, then there will be a veto override session. So legislators have until midnight of the 35th calendar day after the end of the session to return their forms. This will be midnight on July 15th. So on July 15th, we're definitely going to know, are we going to have a veto override session or not? Now, what we have to remember is we have a lot of Republican senators and representatives out there who just don't have the stomach for true constitutional type bills. So don't expect a ton of support from them. One way for a lot of them to actually kind of sidestep their own responsibilities and not actually have to make a stand is by not supporting a veto override session. That's the danger here. That's why we need to get on the phones, and really phone calls are better than anything, but phones, emails, however you have to do it. Again, I strongly urge you to make phone calls. Call your own representatives, your own senators in your specific areas, but also call the leaders of the House and the Senate also. Call their offices and tell them, because those people will have a big hand in that also. Remember, in many cases, the leaders of the House and the Senate in these particular states are the people who encourage or discourage what the other members need to do. So they do have an influence. So you need to contact it. Essentially, I hate to say this, it's four people. You need the leader of the House, the leader of the Senate, you need your own representatives and your own senators in your particular areas to be the ones that you contact. A lot of phone calls, but very necessary. Look, the governor vetoed this bill the same scurry ways that he did the transgender thing. Transgender thing, he said that, oh, it was discriminating against transgender people. Absolutely not. You know, allowing boys to beat up on girls in sports is discriminating against girls. That's what it does. Well, his same twisted method of thinking is what has taken place in the constitutional carry thing. He is saying that, oh, well, now if everybody can carry, he's thinking he's making the public safer. Because now if everybody can carry a gun without having to have a permit, concealed, from a concealed standpoint, because there's already open carry, is already legal in the state of Louisiana. But he's saying that, well, there's no training involved, because when you get your concealed carry permit in the state of Louisiana, there is a certain level of training involved. Look, guys, this is not a knock at anybody providing the training for concealed carry in the state of Louisiana. I'm not knocking them at all. I have a lot of friends that provide that type of training and they certification. Come on. Has anyone ever really gone through the concealed carry permit class and left there feeling safer? Maybe you were a little bit more knowledgeable in some respects, because the class does go over things like, this is a revolver, this is a semi-automatic pistol. You know, it goes over real basic fundamental stuff like that. Look, most people, and I know there's unsafe people out there that own guns. We see the videos on YouTube or whatever all the time. Most people have a direct responsibility whenever they purchase a firearm. We live in the South. We understand the gun community. And that's not just a Southern thing, obviously, but the gun community holds itself to a higher standard than what anti-gun people must hold themselves to, because they don't understand that culture that we have where we do hold ourselves to that high responsibility. When a person says that, like the governor, our Governor Edwards in the state of Louisiana, when a man like him, and I use that man term loosely, when he says that by not making you take a training course that we're allowing more unsafe people to carry guns, it tells me that he is not a quote gun guy. He knows nothing about the gun community, nothing about the gun culture, nothing whatsoever about how we hold ourselves accountable for our own actions as law-abiding gun owners. That's the problem. We have people who are legislating out there. Again, a lot of these Republicans are the same way, but people who are legislating, who are taking basically our votes and tossing them in the trash and doing whatever they want simply because they hear something that sounds good. When the governor says, oh, we don't want unsafe people having guns out there, well, any self-respecting gun owner is going to go, yeah, that makes sense. We don't want unsafe people having guns out there or carrying guns. However, we know better. We know that gun owners hold themselves to that higher standard, and the governor does not get that. So no one is going to be any more unsafe. The crazy thing is, in the state of Louisiana, you can open carry a gun all day long and nothing happens to you. It's perfectly legal. There are no training requirements whatsoever. However, this is legal in the state of Louisiana without training. The governor thinks this is less safe.